Hey there folks, welcome to Spectrum Pulse. We talk about music, movies, art, and culture, and it's Billboard Breakdown. I don't remember. Alright, look, I knew that any cool down week coming off of an album bomb like Drake's for Scorpion, it would not be small, if only for the massive shifts within the Hot 100 itself. And then I remembered that both Future and Meek Mill dropped projects that just so happened to get some traction within their circles and wind up in the Hot 100. Two projects I will freely admit I completely forgot about because nobody cared to request either of them on my schedule. And when you factor in the 21 Pilots breakthrough is likely to get pretty big, pretty fast, yeah, this week wound up a fair bit busier than I thought. Go figure. And the top 10 was not spared any of this action because in the biggest surprise for me, we've got new number 1, In My Feelings by Drake. Yep, apparently the social media challenge that has swept the nation for this sloppily mixed, half-formed little song. It took the top of sales, it was beating its competition in streaming and YouTube with gross margins, and it's rapidly surging up the radio. And look, I'm not normally one to brand anything like this as the song of the summer, especially given what else is in the top 10 right now, but if this keeps up the momentum beyond just the challenge, I'm not really sure what can immediately beat it. Well, you could have the other song that might be the song of the summer that I'm throwing my money behind with I Like It by Cardi B featuring J Balvin and Bad Bunny at number 2. With meaty sales, a big streaming recovery, and radio not slowing down at all, even with it sitting on top of the radio charts, it's still getting increased spins. Depending on how this goes, it could well compete for the number 1. And that's traction that Girls Like You by Maroon 5 featuring Cardi B just does not have, even up to number 3. Yeah, sales are better and the radio gains are strong, but it's just not as big of a streaming presence, even on YouTube. Now, all this shifts Nice for What by Drake down to number 4, but given its sales and that radio seems to be fading, all that residual streaming from Scorpion will not prop it up that much longer. Hell, when it's got booed up coming from LMA rebounding to number 5 to finally get some decent sales to match its YouTube and radio presence, that could be in a lot bigger trouble. Now, this forced back God's Plan by Drake down to number 6. Again, kind of unsurprising given how it's drooping on the radio and streaming, but that unfortunately makes it vulnerable to Lucid Dreams by Juice WRLD rebounding to number 7. Actually now with a bit of radio adding to its streams and YouTube. Just wonderful, like we want to see this on the radio now. But right behind it is No Tears Left to Cry by Ariana Grande at number 8, with considerable radio momentum in its own right to back up the streaming and sales that just are not at their peak right now. Then we got Psycho by Post Malone featuring Ty Dolla $ign re-entering the top 10 at number 9. Yeah, radio's on the downswing, but the streaming and sales numbers are more credible than you would expect. And finally, stubbornly holding on to number 10, Sad by XXXTentacion, thanks to sales and streams, especially in the wake of so many Drake songs that are falling back. So yeah, let's deal with that now, shall we? In terms of dropouts, the only big one enough to be worth mentioning are Escape by Lil Pump and Japan by Famous Dex, and the only non-Drake loser was Becky G and Nutty Natasha with Sin Piyama down to 99. But for Drake, alright, let's go through this from the bottom. Is There More fell to 100. Peak dropped to 93. Finesse slipped to 78. Survival died to 68. That's How You Feel faded to 67. Jaded hit 66. Summer Games lost to 63. Sandra's Rose wilted to 62. 8 out of 10 lost to 59. Talk Up with Jay-Z fell to 58. After Dark with the late Static Major and Ty Dolla $ign went to 56. Blue Tint faded to 55. Can't Take a Joke fell flat at 45. Elevated dropped to 44. Emotionless drooped down to 38. Mob Ties broke down to 28. And Don't Matter to Me with a sample of the late Michael Jackson went to 21. But as always, what's more interesting after album bombs are what rebounds, especially when you consider that the chart rules did rebalance last week to favor paid streams and to give sales and radio a little bit in order to offset the increased streaming presence. And of course, the genre that benefits the most from this was country, which saw the few gains from last week pick up, like Life Changes by Thomas Rhett going up to 60, and then there are some sizable enough rebounds, with Drowns the Whiskey by Jason Aldean featuring Miranda Lambert up to 52, I Was Jack, You Were Diane by Jake Owen up to 50, One Number Away by Luke Combs to 49, Mercy by Brett Young to 41, Simple by Flora Georgia line up to 37, Get Along by Kenny Chesney to 35, and Tequila by Dan and Shay to 24. But you know, it's also worth mentioning that the songs that didn't drop back last week and then took advantage of Drake's loss for their now charting gain, like Sit Next to Me by Foster the People up to 42, One Kiss by Calvin Harris and Dua Lipa up to 29, Whatever It Takes by Imagine Dragons up to 27, Love Lies by Khalid and Normani to 25. I'm really surprised how well that song has lasted. And Taste by Tyga featuring Offset to 18. Yeah, there's a lot of crap rising up the charts too. It happens, so we're getting Better Now by Post Malone to 12, Friends by Marshmello and Anne-Marie to 20, Moonlight by XXXTentacion rebounding to 34, Tibote to 43, and Big Bang by YG featuring 2 Chainz, Big Sean, and Nicki Minaj to 46. And you know what? You might as well tack on Be Careful by Cardi B to 36, Look Alive by Block Boy JB and Drake to 32, and I Like Me Better by Loathe to 38, just in terms of sheer mediocrity. Now, thankfully, there's a lot of good stuff that got boost too. Ape Shit by the Carters went up to 30, Back to You by Selena Gomez went to 31, This Is America by Childish Gambino went to 39, Youngblood by 5 Seconds of Summer went up to 40, Bed by Nicki Minaj and Ariana Grande went to 48. Yeah, that song kind of grew on me. And even Alessia Cara got a big boost for her debut of Growing Pains to 99. Hell, we even got some more returning entries here, which are kind of all over the place, with the best probably being On the Way by Khalid, Ty Dolla $ign, and Black up to 97. And I'm not sure that's enough to compensate for Ocean by Martin Garrix and Khalid to 92, or Legends by Juice WRLD to 94, or Solo by Clean Bandit featuring Demi Lovato at 98. But now we've got a more scattered and interesting list of new arrivals. Unfortunately, starting with number 96, Kream by Iggy Azalea featuring Tyga.
Get it, 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 get it.
Alright, let's be blunt. Despite her rather impressive self-destruction over the past couple years, I knew we would see Iggy Azalea back on the Hot 100. It was a matter of time. And while I don't think she will ever have the success she had in 2014, and it's a little bit gross that she needs Tyga of all people to get momentum, the one thing I can say is that this is marginally more listenable than Team was a couple years back, mostly because she decided to go for another bassy ass anthem, and that'll chart on the video alone, especially with the fragmented samples of a Wu-Tang Clan song, which is actually a reference in the title, Lovely, that I honestly probably would have sampled because I prefer the Wu-Tang Clan than this. It's a lot better too. I will say that Iggy Azalea leaning away from the phony accent is a good step here, as she kinda does, but the fact that she's fallen to the same desaturated, disinterested flow that Tyga uses whenever he's on these sort of flows is a real disappointment, especially given how utterly inert and generic the content is. So yeah, it's not terrible, the rhymes mostly connect and there's nothing egregiously awful beyond Tyga's stupid autotune line, but if Iggy Azalea is looking for this to be her big comeback, yeah, no, don't see it happening. Number 88, Jackie Chan by Tiesto and Dzeko featuring Kream and Post Malone.
I just ordered sushi from Japan. Now yo bitch wanna kick it, Jackie Chan.
So now it looks like the United States is finally getting a Tiesto track that's been global force for the past couple months. About time, I guess. That's something that's always thrown me a little bit, given how Tiesto is worldwide, how big he is, and how little he's impacted the Hot 100 in the decades he's been active. But now he's got a single with Post Malone on vocals, so of course it's hitting the Hot 100, and look, I'm not denying that it's kind of catchy, and that Preem's got an easygoing auto-tune charisma that I actually like more than what Post Malone's trying to do in Stealing Your Girl and making the most blatantly thuddingly obvious Jackie Chan reference on his hook. But honestly, I might have more issues with the production here. I mean, it starts promising with the desaturated rollick of the guitars bouncing off the pianos with a fair amount of whirling energy, but then we get that nasal synth drop and breakdown, and I'm sorry, it sounds gross. I'm not a fan. And so, yeah, I get why it's blown up as big as it has, but it's not really all that good. Next, number 83, Drug Addicts by Lil Pump.
Swear to God, you can't be on my status. I swear to God. Start the day off with a pint. Chill. I'ma show you how to live life. Chill. Ooh. Take a lot of drugs, don't think twice. Wow. I do this every day and all night. Ooh.
Honest question, does it smack anybody as a little disingenuous when you get trap MCs pivoting to make songs about drug addiction, especially when you look outside the main song to place things in a larger context? Well, that would come with the obvious follow-up surrounding the framing of said song, and the question whether or not Lil Pump could possibly be dumb enough to glorify the addiction without any deeper commentary, and of course he does this, including taking Your Baby Mama, brand name flexing, referencing his biggest hit, and then a painfully basic and staccato flow. Yikes. At least Gucci Gang might have had some slick atmosphere to it. It kind of could be a hit even though it's not good, but this is a bassy trap clunker with a sharply discordant melody that sounds like somebody's ripping off Sophie without a lot of confidence. So yeah, if anything, this song convinced me that Lil Pump's 15 minutes in the spotlight might be about up, and honestly, I'm not gonna complain. Next, number 79, Dangerous by Meek Mill featuring Jeremih and PNB Rock.
Grateful I had all the patience. I know you going through some changes. You taking pictures, know your angles. Ooh, no, it ain't perfect, but we them close. Ooh, you give me something I can pay for.
So I'll say this, given his odd propensity for album bombs, I wouldn't have had a problem if Meek Mill just stuck to dropping EPs, especially if he's going to start showing a lot more dimensionality in his songs. And Dangerous isn't a bad example of stepping into this territory. Very much reminiscent of the acoustic touch early 2000s R&B with just a blockier trap beat, and both Jeremih and PNB Rock stepping up to add some of their credentials to Meek trying to slow things down a little bit. But there are two problems, and the first coming in the production. It's got this odd filmy closeness in the mix that doesn't really have the body that it really should against this beat, especially in the guitar work. So it's nowhere as slick as it should be, nowhere as groove heavy. And the second problem, unfortunately, is Meek Mill. Look, I know he just got out of prison, he's trying to be a little bit more diverse, but he's still a really one-dimensional presence on the microphone with his blocky flow and a lot of his content, and his inability to stop cramming gangsta posturing into his bars. Dude, you don't need to kill people on every song you're on, let alone the girls that are talking shit. You just don't need to bother. So yeah, I can't really get behind this song. Sorry, folks. Not bad, but not good either. Number 76, Racks Blue by Future.
What I'm supposed to do when these rats blue? Ooh, what I'm supposed to do when these rats blue? Ooh, I should've gave them dog food that went to your noodle. I should've never got caught up with a cougar.
So we've got 4 Future songs to get through here, and I remember thinking that Future could do with a solid cut to really reassert his relevance in 2018, and not just that awful line on King's Dead. And while Beast Mode 2 has been getting some good reviews, I'm not one of those critics who has ever entirely given Future a pass, and with this, yeah. If there's a sign that Future might be getting left behind when it comes with a track like this, he's speaking more slowly and clearly with the auto-tuned accents, almost reminding me more of his earlier work with a much more basic flow, against the flurry pianos and the rubbery synths and the violins clearly playing for more high melodrama. And yet, the most that really comes out of this is complaining about having stacks of cash and generally still feeling miserable, with little all that beyond that. And that's not new from Future. So yeah, not really all that impressed. I've heard him do this before, so let's move on. Number 73, Millidelphia by Meek Mill featuring Swizz Beatz.
Who dropping shit through the water? Me. Who really dropping that fight? Me. Back on the water, listen when I speak. Who got the key to the streets? Me.
So alright, we had to get the more sensitive song for the crossover. Surely this would be the track where Meek Mill turns up in his comfort zone, right? Well, yeah. In fact, let me go on the limb and say this might be the best thing Meek Mill has put out in years, because this is actually pretty damn solid. Swizz Beatz plays hype man, producing the bombastic overdub collage of vocals in the production against the thicker trap beat, with Meek Mill hollering his lungs out in sheer triumphant rage. Hell, the content may be kind of one-dimensional flexing, and unfortunately Meek Mill does cram in a reference to stealing the girls of his opponents, which he doesn't need to do, along with a bizarre slowdown in the second verse to match Swizz Beatz, and it doesn't quite click as well as Swizz Beatz did. But for a show of sheer ego and personality, I can't deny that Meek Mill's really selling this for me. So yeah, maybe it's the fan of crunk with me that likes this song, but yeah, goes hard as hell. I hope it picks up traction. For what it is, pretty solid. Check this out. Number 71, Cuddle My Wrist by Future.
Cut up my bitch, cut up my wrist, cut up my wrist. I got that monkey on my back. I walk around 500 racks. I keep the city on my shoulders, carried around like a bag of stacks.
Okay, if you want evidence that Future could use somebody outside his hive or inner circle to bounce ideas off of, it might be here, where he calls a song Cuddle My Wrist without any trace of irony or humor. Like, I get what Future's trying to say here, even if it feels increasingly goofy with his curt delivery against the fluttery pianos from Beethoven, and when he follows it with the line to cuddle my bitch. Future, do you not understand the concept of cuddling? Because that might explain a lot why Sierra left you in the first place. Beyond that, the song just feels really undercooked and with a lot of forgettable brand name porn, and easily one of the more embarrassing songs that Future's put out in recent memory. And given what I remember from Pluto and Honest, that is saying something, because this is not good. Number 65, 31 Days by Future.
Selling my shades, cooking up dope, getting paid. Try to get laid, she been with me 31 days. Play bitches in the ways, we been on the same damn page.
So this is the song I was told is actually pretty good from Beast Mode 2, at least among what we got this week, and, well, it's okay with the wiry synths and the beeping track groove, and Future, he has more of his flow back, he sounds better than he did on Rax Blue, but my god, the number of flubbed rhymes here is just stupid. Catalog rhymed with a magical, land with staying, and then sleep with us with gigantic. There's some points I don't even know if Future is trying here. And seriously, for as much as you're trying to celebrate the 31 days of debauchery you're having with this girl who's so much in your lane, why are you putting it in the overlong hook how you fucked her which made her pee? In other words, if there's another candidate for Future needing some sort of proofreader or naysayer just to say no to him, another prime example, because this isn't that good either. Next, number 60, Jumpsuit by 21 Pilots.
Pressures of a new place roll my way. Jumpsuit, jumpsuit, cover me. Jumpsuit, cover me.
And here's the big one, the one you're all here for, the big comeback single from 21 Pilots that I would put money on picking up considerable traction on the Hot 100 next week, even despite not quite having the same pop appeal as their biggest singles. Yes, the click is just that dedicated, and radio is already on board. This will sell in the Midwest. So for this, okay, let me get this out of the way first in the production. I am a huge fan of 21 Pilots embracing a heavier riff in their bass with some real sludgy crunch to it against the ghostly vocal modulations and the drippy effects around the verses. It does a really solid job leaning into their established song while ratcheting up the heavier darkness to more convincing territory, especially with that bass melody, and especially for emphasizing the paranoia and antipathy roiling around Tyler Joseph, especially when faced with the realization that he could be dragged into far darker territory to which he thought he might have left behind, cranked up to 11 by the scream vocals to end that track, which really clicked. And if I were to nitpick, well, honestly, it might come with the track feeling a shade bit underwritten, maybe using one more verse before the bridge to really set the scene, but that's it. I think the larger miracle will be if 21 Pilots somehow manage to get this to be more successful, maybe break it into the top 40 and make that last, but we'll see. In the meantime, yeah, great song. Happy to see these guys back. I dig it. And finally, number 53, Wi-Fi Lit by Future.
5,000, that just so unfit. I'm not going back no more when they ain't have shit. Pray I get a new connect, pray I get a brick.
Okay, honestly, do we have to end things with Future? Especially with the song called Wi-Fi Lit, where he actually brags about ditching a girl at a hotel like Lowe's around his generic brand name bragging. And considering the latter case actually happened and was reported on, I'm sorry, I've got no inroads to actually liking what Future might say or do on this song. Even if the production does have those slight cascades of piano against the lingering strings and the lumpy trap beat. And at the end of the day, the most notable line in this hook is about him keeping his Wi-Fi on while he prays about getting a new drug suppliers who continue flexing and abandoning women at hotels. So yeah, it's not terrible because I don't mind the groove, but no, not a fan either. So yeah, the best and worst, they fall out pretty easily here. With the best, you know what, it's close, but I think Jumpsuit by 21 Pilots just edges out Millidelphia by Meek Mill and Swizz Beatz. Although, I do get the feeling that Jumpsuit is more of an album cut, and I think we'll get stronger songs as the album rolls out further. Now for the worst, yeah, Drug Addicts by Lil Pump is getting that. With just honorable mention going to Cuddle My Wrist by Future, again for being more humiliating than outright atrocious. Next up, well, the Drake fallout is just gonna keep on happening, but it'll be interesting to see how much 21 Pilots will be able to surge, especially if In My Feelings begins to fade or falter, so stay tuned for that. But until then, I'm Mark, you're watching Billboard Breakdown on Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.